Suspect in the killing of a state lawmaker and her husband has been caught and is now facing murder charges, among other charges. Investigators using helicopters, surveillance drones, as well as infrared technology to find Vance Bolter overnight.
Got his ass.
They say that he literally crawled to law enforcement after search teams closed in on him.
Damn.
I'm very proud to tell you that we took the suspect into custody who is responsible for this. That was within 43 hours of the incident. There's no question that this is the largest manhunt in the state's history.
Damn.
Just down at the scene where he's taken into custody, there's 20 different SWAT teams over an extremely large area hunting this individual down to take him into custody.
Jesus.
I believe that the state of Minnesota and certainly the city of Brooklyn Park should be extremely proud of the police officers within the city of Brooklyn Park, but the partnerships that we had are unprecedented between the federal agents, the county, the locals, and others around. It is absolutely an incredible task what went on. Essentially, the Brooklyn Park Police Department was turned over into an operations center, and that's all that hundreds of detectives worked on tirelessly for 43 hours. So while this has come to some conclusion where we've made an arrest, there is a ton of work that needs to be done. So I encourage community members, if there's evidence, information, or other things, please continue to feed that information to the Brooklyn Park Police Department so that we can fully investigate this and present a complete case to both the federal jurisdiction and the Hennepin County Attorney's Office.
Yep, I'd expect that.
And just into CNN a few moments ago, this new photo of Bolter, it's his mugshot after.
Fucking got him. I mean, it's impressive that they're able to catch these guys too. It really is.
He was transferred to the Hennepin County Jail. He has been charged now with 2 counts of second-degree murder and 2 counts of second-degree attempted murder. And that's according to a criminal complaint that was obtained by our colleagues at the Minnesota Star Tribune. A source telling CNN that the U.S. Justice Department is also considering possible federal charges against Bolter. The complaint also shows that police found weapons, including at least 3 AK-47s and a handgun inside his SUV.
How the fuck
He's a suspect in 2 separate shootings targeting Minnesota state lawmakers in their homes.
Jesus.
Alyssa Hortman and her husband, they were both killed early Saturday morning. She was the top Democrat in the Minnesota State House. Officials saying that State Senator John Hoffman and his wife were also shot, but they survived the attack and are recovering in the hospital this morning after undergoing surgery. Let's bring in now CNN's law enforcement analyst, Jonathan Wackrow, who's also a former Secret Service agent, joins us live from Middleton, New Jersey. Jonathan, it's good to have you this morning. Thanks for getting up early for us.
Hey, good morning, Paulo. How are you?
Damn, it is early.
Following and still processing this overnight news, I'm wondering if you can give us a general sense of this vast amount of technology and the manpower that was used to track him down without injuring either him or any officers.
Yeah, they actually caught him.
Well, listen, there are 3 things that are credited right now for this successful apprehension. First, it's the proven law enforcement tactics that were deployed. I mean, you were thinking about a surge of law enforcement, the coordination between state, local, and federal assets working, in unison under.
The feds released more info after this, apparently into 4 different lawmakers' home. Yeah, there's follow-up for this afterwards too. You're right.
One central command to follow up on hundreds of leads. The rapid deployment of tactical teams when there were possible sightings. So, and finally, the actual setting up of very strict tactical perimeters when they did see that second vehicle really allowed for law enforcement tactics to be deployed. Those were. I'm gonna
be honest, like that picture of him with that fucking mask on, dressed up as the police. That shit's actually scary. It's crazy. Like, that's some kind of, like, fucking Michael Myers horror movie shit.
By, as you said, the utilization of technology. So the infrared cameras that were used, the FLIR cameras that pick up heat signatures of individuals gave law enforcement officers on the ground this tactical advantage from the air, being able to see in the dark, see in areas that, they were able to pick up on that heat signature. But a critical, key component of this apprehension really came through with a breakthrough from the private sector, the public's assistance the utilization of this trail camera, raising awareness that there was an image on the trail camera from a private citizen that matched the suspect's description.
See, this is what really gets people. This is why it's like, I bet like if you were trying to go out and fuck around and do bad stuff nowadays, it's probably so hard to do that because now you're locked in. Like everybody has a camera everywhere. Like, how do you deal with that? And I think that's the situation that they're in right now. Like, I mean, yeah, like there's just cameras fucking everywhere. So like you walk over to somebody's house and you end up being on like 4 different cameras and you don't even know it.
Really allowed for that perimeter, that tactical perimeter that was
established. What's your point? My point is that like it's a lot harder for people. Like, for example, before the, you know, ubiquitousness of cameras was there, right? Like they're at every store, they're at every intersection, they're in most houses, like they're everywhere. And you have everybody carrying a phone too with their, and then you have dash cams and you have car phones, or sorry, cameras. Like there's just cameras fucking everywhere. So how do you get in? How do you get away with this? And it seems like you don't. That's how.
By law enforcement to really shrink down into an area where law enforcement was able to identify the location of this suspect, call out to that individual where he crawled out of his hiding location and was taken into custody without incident. So this was a successful resolution at the end to a really tragic
it's a huge W,
43
massive
hours
W.
That the community
he
around
just
Minnesota
got caught by a travel cam.
And coming to an end not far in the same town where the suspect reportedly lived. Jonathan, when I was hearing from investigators over the weekend, they were sort of painting this picture of planning and premeditation on the side of their suspect in terms of the gear that he used.
Travel cam,
But when you look at this case now that he's in custody, where do you think that he essentially dropped the ball? He was captured slightly less than 48 hours after the commission of these alleged crimes.
Apparently a paid assassin.
Well, one thing I think that the susputect did not take into account for as much planning as he may have had or thought he had, what he really was not putting into his calculus was just the overwhelming force of law enforcement that was coming after him.
Yeah, I mean, you look at it, bro, like when they mobilize all them boys, you're cooked, man. He's fucking done, bro. They're going in there with like those fucking Predator, like fucking vision, heat-seeking cameras. They're going like you're fucking cooked. You're finished. This is Tim Wall's fault? No, it's not. The guy's nuts.
You think about the 400 officers, over 20 tactical teams, investigators from the federal government, local and
he's
state
got 5
officials,
stars,
all
exactly.
working together. Again, a common cause of taking this individual into custody. The resources that they had at their disposal to quickly push out investigators to follow up on leads.
So how'd they have all these resources but they couldn't stop the riots in 2020? I wonder why. That's crazy, because like this is a big issue in Minnesota, right? And like I think about that. What is that? Why? Wow, what a surprise.
To send tactical teams to certain locations very quickly. All of that put this individual completely on his heels. And put him on the run, and that's when mistakes start to happen. In the moment that they found that second vehicle, again, that was a turning point for law enforcement. Again, proven law enforcement tactics in coordination at the end of the day brought this to a successful resolution.
In their announcement of that resolution, Jonathan, Governor Tim Walz said that these attacks, in his words, that they altered the state of Minnesota. In your opinion, how do you think this particular case may change the conversation around political violence? We know that there were many Democrats on this kill list that's been reported on by investigators. Sadly, we've seen one too many cases just in the U.S. alone when it comes to political violence and when it comes to political conflict and global conflict. So,
the problem is that people are afraid of unequivocally condemning the political violence, because they know that part of their support comes from people that condone the violence. And I think that Luigi was the turning point with this. And it's just gotten worse and worse over time. And now, this is the reason why, for example, if this guy was a Republican, it seems like he was, we're not sure yet, but it seems that way. The guy should get the fucking death penalty. I mean, that's it. I mean, it's that simple. You literally go, you're a literal fucking terrorist, right? Like there's no two sides to this. There's no, I can understand why he was upset. He's a psycho fuck and he deserves the electric chair. That's it. It's that simple. And so I don't know why a lot of liberal people try to like mince words and, oh, well, you know, well, he had a troubled past and you know, no, these people are fucking crazy. They are insane. They're dangerous. They're violent, and everybody should be against it. That's it. Death penalty is the answer. Yes, that's it. And so the reason why political violence has become normalized is because you have certain people, and I think this is primarily a left-wing thing right now, at least, especially with like the Tesla riots, etc., that keep making excuses and coming up with reasons why it's okay that somebody like this was violent. That's the issue. Like Tesla is a good example of that. The assassination on Trump is a good example of that. The recent ICE riots where you're burning down self-driving cars to protest illegal immigration or like the immigration reform. Like what the fuck? Like they're not even connected, right? They have nothing to do with each other. The 86 thing. Yeah, exactly. And the constant intellectual dishonesty that's coming out of people trying to play like, oh, like the thing is, like, I thought it was so cringe when like Bill Burr was talking about like, oh, like Free Luigi. Like if you're a popular celebrity, do you really think, like, I mean, do you really think popular celebrities aren't on the kill list for a lot of revolutionaries that have a problem with society? It's insane. Anybody who is a popular or well-known person who plays footsie at all with those revolutionary people, I think this is natural selection waiting to happen. That's my opinion. These people, you are on their list. Don't think you're one of the good ones, because to one of them you are, but to the other one, you're at the top of their list. So I find it to be so fucking annoying to see people drawing like, oh, well, it's kind of okay or something like that. It is obnoxious as fuck for me to see that. And so that's where the political violence narrative came from. And it's so obnoxious that people will not just straight flat out condemn it and say, this is bad, nobody should do this. It's such a simple thing, but it eludes so many people. And it's because they're afraid of alienating their extremist, their extremist supporters.
What happens next?
That's the reason.
In terms of the conversation around that.
Well, Polo, for a long
Very
time,
annoying.
we've been reporting around escalating, political narratives and, toxic conversations online. What we saw is right now,
it's not toxic. These are threats of violence and calls to violence online. These are things that already break. This is not the First Amendment. These are people that are breaking the law on the internet that go unpunished, and eventually it radicalizes people like this. Was this a direct result? Maybe not. But some of the Tesla bombings, I'm sure was, or the next time this happens, I'm sure will be. Eventually it will be.
Is we're seeing this, disturbing trend where, political rhetoric and rhetoric that's online, that's, toxic, is now transcending into direct action.
Exactly.
We've seen that now time and
Completely
time again.
right.
And this violence that we are witnessing against our politicians on both sides has been normalized, right? And now we're getting into this normalization of the assassination culture where people, feel that it's justified, or they're, giving a rationale for these horrific acts.
I'm going to be honest. I wouldn't expect this from CNN. CNN is actually giving this. I actually think this guy is cooking so hard. He is completely right about everything he's saying.
Got to stop. We have to reverse that narrative.
Yeah.
We have to stop this, these violent acts from manifesting themselves, where they actually foster online and then transcend into direct action.
Exactly.
That has to stop. So Governor Walz was correct. We have to change the entire paradigm of how
Governor Walz needs to start by changing himself. Whenever you're celebrating Tesla's stock going down as a result of violent terrorist vandalism, and you're like, wow, I'm so happy the stock is going down. Meanwhile, your state's retirement fund is partly involved in Tesla. You want to talk about celebrating violence. He should start with himself. It's pathetic. Like he's the last person I want to hear this from.
Actually engage online, talk to each other, and engage so we don't get into these situations again.
Yeah, life altered for an entire state. For two families, though, life will certainly never be the same again. But at least,
and keep in mind, if more of this stuff happens, what you're going to get, this is the end result of what you're going to get. You're going to get real ID on the internet. You're going to get more surveillance. You're going to get more two-factor checks. You're going to get more levels of, more lack of privacy. You're going to lose more and more of your freedom on the internet, and the government is letting it happen. And obviously, any conspiracy-minded person would be saying, oh, they're doing this on purpose so people can be excited for the next Patriot Act, right? I mean, it's clearly like, people said that about 9/11. But that's the direction that we're going in. That's very clearly the direction that we're going in.
Sense of closure, perhaps, with the detention of a suspect.
What do you think about real ID on the internet? I would be open to the idea of real ID being necessary to use social media platforms. I'm open to the idea. It doesn't mean I support it, but I'd be open to listening to it. But I don't think you need real ID for everything. And porn, bad idea. Hell no. Well, why not? It's a slippery slope. Well, why not? What's the reason not? Let's do a pros and cons list. Yeah, privacy. I don't think that if you're posting things on the internet and you're doing it with a private company, I don't think that you have the promise of privacy. Nobody has the right to post anything that they want on the internet completely anonymously. That's not in the Constitution. It's a data breach. Yeah, but there's plenty of data breaches. There's plenty of those anyway. Of course, that's what's going to happen. How do we avoid doxing? Well, it's simple. It's done it's the same with any website. Yeah, Reddit needs real ID. Yeah, and also you effectively have real ID to begin with, right? Because you need to have a name and an address and a person that's assigned to an ISP. Whenever you pay for your ISP, you are effectively giving them real ID. That's how they catch these people.
Jonathan Wyckoff, really appreciate your law enforcement analysis.
Joining me now to discuss, Juliet Kayyem, CNN senior national security analyst. Juliet, earlier you and I were both talking about the Boston Marathon bombing, where there was a massive manhunt back then. Things have changed a lot. We were hearing about these drones being involved at the moment of his surrender.
Yeah, they
Can you talk about sort of how these things play out
today? But either way, no matter how you feel on it, I don't want to go back and forth about this forever. Regardless of how you feel about this one way or another, you guys need to admit that it's very clear that this is where things are going in, right? This is the direction things are going in, and it's going very fast. And the more violent stuff like this that happens, the faster it starts going in that direction.
Yeah. So these sort of
That's just the way it is.
Are going to always use a combination of tools to try to get the suspect. This was different, of course, than the Boston Marathon. It was shorter, even though it felt long. And this combination of use of technology, I have to say there was still sort of crowdsourcing. They were talking about someone calling in, the technology with the drone use and trying to identify him, and then the surge of law enforcement to surround him. So he ultimately surrenders without harming anyone else, and not harming himself, so that now he can be prosecuted and put before court, and potentially he's speaking. The other similarity is,
I just realized his manifesto never got released, did it? Because people said that they had a manifesto from him, but that never got released. Walls told them not to. I'm going to be honest. I actually think that it's a good thing. I think that none of their manifestos should be released to the public. I think it should just be used as police evidence and then kept private. Because I think that the proliferation of the manifestos creates a reward structure around doing these shootings.
Of course, this lockdown aspect to the weekend.
But my concern is that what if the reason why the manifesto wasn't leaked is that it was inconvenient for the people who chose to keep it private? So yeah, it makes me a little bit uncertain.
And over the course of the weekend, parts of the community were locked down because these kinds of crimes, these essentially terrorism or terror crimes, don't just impact the victims, but of course whole communities.
It's a chilling effect.
Who do not know what to anticipate
She's
next.
Right.
Yeah.
That lockdown was lifted there in just a short while.
And what you're saying is significant, because if I'm looking at the last year, there's multiple assassination attempts against President Trump, an arson attack against the Democratic Pennsylvania governor, Josh Shapiro, of course, the killing of 2 Israeli embassy staffers in Washington. I mean, how does law enforcement start to approach protecting people?
Go on the internet and arrest the people that are making calls to violence, and then make it known and evident that anybody who engages in that behavior will be caught and prosecuted. You want to solve the problem? That's how you solve the problem. That's it. Reddit would be done for? No, it wouldn't. This problem, the reason why Redditors do this is because they can get away with it. The moment they see somebody get hauled off to jail because of some Reddit post, they're not going to talk about this shit at all anymore. Yeah, they'll stop immediately. Trust me, the moment that you actually start enforcing the laws, these people immediately roach out. Instantaneously. Retroactively charge them all? Well, of course. Yeah, I mean, if it's within the statute of limitations, absolutely you would charge them all.
You really can't. I mean, I'm just going to be blunt here. I mean, there's going to be...
Say?
How does law enforcement start to approach protecting people?
You really can't.
Yeah, she's a retard. She doesn't know what she's talking about. And so anyway, yeah, you absolutely can. You 100% can. There's people on the internet that are constantly making these calls to violence nonstop. It's obvious that this is happening.
I'm just going to be blunt here. I mean, there's going to be VIPs, senior executives, or at CEOs and other high-profile corporations. But I mean, look at what happened this weekend. This is
it also says if someone wants to hurt you, there's no stopping them. Yeah, and there are some times that somebody might drive into your car and it's not your fault that you get in an accident, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't wear a seatbelt. Like, there are methods in reduction that are effective at scale, but the reduction methods never reach the number of 0. Obviously, you can never prevent something from happening 100%, but you should take effort and you should take action to prevent it from happening as often as possible.
State senator that most of us nationally had never heard of, a state leader in the House. And
yeah, this is going to keep happening.
It's just a reminder that there's all these amazing people, Republicans and Democrats alike, who are committing to their communities, serving their communities. You can't protect every single one of them.
Yeah, what a moron. What an idiot. Well, anyway, so yeah, I totally disagree with that. I think that she's out of her fucking mind. I think it's very obvious where the political violence is coming from. It's completely transparent. I can't see anybody not thinking that, but I guess that's what happens whenever you've got to make excuses for it. So let's go back. I'll see if I can find any more of these. I did hear that they were doing more strikes, but maybe now that's not happening. I don't know. And there's already a post from one of the senators on the No Kings protest, a protester with a sign of beheaded Trump, etc., Nazis on their heads, charge these people and they'll stop. Exactly. Like, I think that a lot of people really discount. Most people that go to these protests have comfortable, nice, normal lives. They are not looking to one-shot their life and destroy their life because of some bullshit. They don't want to do that. So the moment that these people realize that there's going to be a genuine and direct consequence for something, they roach the fuck out. They stop immediately because they don't want to do that. Right-wing shooters assassinating left-wingers, left-wing bad, it's their fault. Well, should it matter? I mean, were the Teslas left-wing or right-wing? It's obvious. And I think that also the majority of political language on the internet has been directed towards right-wing people by left-wing people. And I think that this has created a big problem. Now, I think that obviously the Israeli shooting at that embassy is a good example of that. I think that Luigi is a good example of that. And I think that also this one probably, it seems like, is not a good example of that. But there's like the Tesla burnings are a good example of that. So yeah, absolutely.